we have assembled, Gaylan, we have assembled the best panel the insurance industry has ever seen. I mean, let me go through the list of names, and I want to kick it off to you. Okay, we've got Danielle Roberts of Boomer Benefits, unbelievable brand, absolute powerhouse. Okay, and I'm privileged and lucky to be hanging out with you. So thank you, Miss Danielle. Good to see you.
You bet.
Okay. Also, Bob, MedicareBob, massive brand, unbelievable dude, crazy successful, and still super young. Welcome to the show today, sir.
Thank you. I always enjoy being called young still, so thank you.
There you go. You can't be too much older than me. And then we have Mr. Dante Cantu, founder of Go Medigap, unbelievable success story. Dude, thank you for gracing us with your presence today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, this is a great group of not just Medicare call center owners and operators, but some of my best friends. So it's great to be here. Yes.
Also, Taylor Martin, who has probably as much industry experience as anyone I've ever met. Website says CMO for Senior Security Benefits, working with Miss Gaylan Hendricks. Dude, thank you for everything. Thank you for the support and continuing to be a part of the conference. So, Taylor, thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to be a part of this.
Love it, buddy. Also, Gaylan, how did you get this insane crew together? Because this is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I think it's attributable to all of them. I mean, for them to take time out today and also to come to the conference just goes to show you how much they love to help others. And, you know, that's the reason this group was assembled, because they do love to help others. And I get that's what we're doing at 8% Nation. That was your whole vision way back when. So I think this panel will bring as much or more value than anybody has ever seen prior to 2021 8% Nation.
Yeah, I do too. And you've been one of the biggest supporters of the conference. You're unbelievable. My family loves you. My staff loves you. The industry loves you. MedicareBob called you the godmother of the insurance industry. And I don't know how someone can be a part of the industry and not love and respect Gaylan Hendricks. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for helping grow the theme of the conference. And for those that don't realize it, 92% of insurance agents fail in the first 3 years. That's where 8% Nation comes from. Here's where I'd love to start, Gaylan, is I'm curious how, I feel like the industry didn't used to collaborate as much as it does now. I didn't feel like people were helping as much as they previously. I wasn't around then, so maybe I'm wrong. You can educate me if I am. But I feel like how important is collaboration? Because all of you are like friends, but competitors, but collaborating, but helping one another, but helping others. I mean, each of you are extremely impressive. I'd love to talk through how important that is.
I think that's great, Cody. I mean, first of all, you weren't even born when I started. So yes, you weren't around. But I do think that the collaboration has always been strong on the senior side. I do sense some stuff out there in the Facebook world that I don't like seeing. I don't like the negativities it's bringing. It reminds me of the old underage side that your dad can tell you about, the underage 65 side. But these four people on here today are some of the best in the industry, best friends. You know, they bring that class. I may bring the sass, but they bring the class to the Medicare and the senior side. So I would love to hear them. I mean, lots of people hear me talk all the time, but I really want to throw it to these guys and, you know, hear what they have to say about collaboration and all that great stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to jump in on that. I mean, it's, you know, Danielle and Bob and a few other of us, you know, for several years, we had a little email thread going, and we would meet about once a year, get together and just share ideas. And if something popped up in the industry, or we had a question on technology, or even a lead source, have you tried this lead source? You know, we'd all jump in and we discuss and debate and really support each other. You know, I think a lot of that comes from mindset, which, you know, I'm sure Cody, you know, you talk a lot about. I mean, it's you know, that growth versus limited mindset. You know, we looked at each other and say, you know, hey, we're going to compete on some deals here or there, but, you know, with the volume that we're doing, it's going to actually be relatively rare. So we're better off really supporting each other by helping in these ways than acting as competitors. And so, There you go, Bob.
AmeriLife, we try to save money now here at AmeriLife. So we,
I thought you were going to clap on, clap off for a minute.
Sorry, Dante. You're not
But outside of that, just being operators, like these are some of the best people in the industry, and I've enjoyed really working with them over the years, and it's been a lot of fun, and I consider them great friends.
Yeah, as far as collaboration goes, I think part of it was, 8 years ago or so, all those top producer Medicare supplement trips, it's predominantly dominated by face-to-face brokers. And I remember the first trips 7, 8 years ago, and we were like the outsiders as the call center people. Like people thought, man, they're cheating. So I think almost by default, we kind of got to know each other because other people really did, we were the call center people at the dinners and the call center people on the trip. And, but I remember, J. Cole has a song called Middle Child, and it's about, he's mentoring young people, but also learning from older people in the business, more seasoned people. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you guys older. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I remember the first time Dante was in the room with me, and I was like, I told my wife, that guy owns Go MedicareBob. Like, oh my God. And then I remember Danielle, and now my wife and Danielle are friends and stuff like that. But I remember the first time you don't know somebody, I'm like, she owns Boomer Benefits. Like, that's crazy, right? And so I think really they started it, and Gaylan and Taylor bringing everybody in and really best practice sharing. I think all of us realize that there's more production than the group of us can write. And that still holds true. I think that there's just so much business out there. So I appreciate getting to learn from Danielle, Dante, Gaylan, and Taylor. And I also like trying to help people that are newer to the business than I am and try to help them be successful as well.
Yeah, back when we started to get to know each other, there weren't Facebook groups. We didn't have anything like that. We would see each other on trips, and Gaylan kind of introduced everyone. And then over time, we all have worked on our businesses together, and it's been so important because we didn't have those kind of resources before then. And it's still nice now when we have something to run by one another, we do that. I think Dante is definitely the one that we turn to on anything related to offers and sales and making an exit. We've directed a number of questions to him that way, but branding questions too that we've shared about our businesses, helping each other out in a way that really was not happening before. We got introduced by Gaylan, and so a lot of credit to her for, telling each other that, hey, this guy's okay, or this person's okay. You should work together. You should talk to one another. You should learn from one another. And we've all been able to do that as the years have gone by, and it's been really useful.
That's awesome.
Taylor, you have anything to add?
Sure. I'll just give the history lesson. Gosh, Richard, I think it's been probably 13 or 14 years since you and I talked on the phone the first time, maybe 15. Jeez.
Going on, 14.
Something like that. And Danielle, it was about the same time that you and I got connected.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby, I don't know if you were born yet, but the two of us have been doing business together for a long time. And it's been really fun seeing how you can do it right and how you can grow a business and yet be there to help others. I connected, Gaylan and I connected Richard with many people early on, and I forget who said it, but I think Bobby, early on when Richard really started getting his business going, we had people calling from the carrier side going, hey, these guys are writing so much business. It appears to be all telesales. We're really concerned about it. Like, no, we've been there. He runs a great business, a great operation. But, it has come a long way since then. And the three people on this call, MedicareBob, Danielle, and Richard, are three of the people who have the best reputation in this industry and are well known for helping others and showing them the right path and how to do it correctly. Gaylan, you were speaking, I think, before we started about how well this group gets along and coexists and competes and chases the client, but at the same time does it the right way and gets along. And that's one of the things that's, I think, really unique about this space and that I love about it is people can compete, but yet still be great friends and do it above board and do it right. And, I can't think of a better way to do business.
Absolutely.
I agree. It's funny because when Taylor first started talking to, well, we call him Dante, but Richard Cantu, Cody, I told you this.
I'll always know him as Richard just because that's how we started, but I'm just hard to break that one.
But Dante just sounds better.
Yeah. I go with friends and family.
A movie star or something. But Taylor was like, hey, is this Richard Cantu? And I was like, is that the same Richard Cantu from Unicare? And he goes, well, I don't know. And I'm like, I think it is. And so later on we got to talking, and yeah, he was like, yeah, that was me. But, I've totally gone that side away, and I'm now over on this side. And I thought that was really cool how he had just like flipped the switch overnight and was doing a whole different business model. And I think that's another thing people are going to be able to get from this group, Cody. They've come from other sales sides, or like Danielle has a journalism major. And is a success story in telesales. So, this is the group. So we'll let you go to your next question, but I really appreciated everybody's comments on that.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. You guys all get along. If you think about collectively, okay, I know it probably doesn't need to be said, but for those that may not know the culmination or how special this group is or how unique something like this is happening right now, or maybe doesn't know you yet, which I'd be surprised if that's the case. However, if you look at the collective group, I would be shocked if the collective group isn't over 100 million a year, with all of you. Which is crazy impressive, by the way. Okay. It's not all about that, but I can tell you, just get people's attention from a credibility standpoint. I've personally, and I wouldn't be able to do it without Gaylan's help, never assembled such an amazing group of individuals that care and have done such big things in the industry. I'm almost thinking about like transitioning and almost getting some nuggets for me for a second too, because while I've got you guys, I'm thinking, okay, why not? When I talked about earlier, you guys have all done three things really well, right? Branding, marketing, and built out a company with actual salespeople so that you're not doing it all. But one of the things that all three of you have done really well is the YouTube side, the branding side on YouTube, which I don't think people realize how like difficult that is. You have to like start and then actually continue on forever. And all of you've done that really well. And also, too, to kind of tie into another thing is like to tie back to YouTube was like quitting was never an option for any of you, which I'll get to that later. But I'd love to talk about like the branding piece and the YouTube piece, because all of you have like put yourself out there and you put your brand out there and you've done things outside of the box, and you're not just door knocking direct mail. Like you're building a brand that's educating consumers. You're getting a lot of inbound traffic because of that, and then you're helping those consumers. So I'd love to like talk through how special that is, because all of you have that in common, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I'll give some credit to this group really quick before we start that. I love how they support each other. I'll call Dante and we'll be visiting, and the first words out of his mouth are, man, Danielle is crushing it. I think that is so cool and so true to these guys' characters. I'll hear Danielle say something about Bobby, or Danielle say, man, Richard is just credibility 101. I love how these three talk about each other, but I did want to tee that up and not let that go forgotten.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Danielle, you go. I think you're this the best at. I watch your videos and I'm like, I can't compete with her.
But you're so much cuter, Bobby. Much cuter.
No.
You want to talk first? You want to let her talk first, Bobby? I think you're going to have a hard time following her.
Okay, so I'll go. That's fair. So I'll go first. So,
you go, Bob.
All right. So for me, when I started my agency, I did not, if you guys watch my earlier videos, they're awful, but that's my biggest encouragement to everybody is, and Cody, I think you would agree with this, is content. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be, a couple things. The content, if you're really good at the cool thing about the people on this call, which I think is real, and I'll throw Justin Brock involved in this too. I actually love watching Brock's content because I can tell he's done this before. Danielle, when she's talking about Medicare and educating somebody, she's sold this before. Like she knows what she's talking about. So the first tip on content is know what you're talking about. In my opinion, know what you're doing before you start putting yourself out there. So let me just start with that. So content's king.
Good.
But if you haven't spent 10,000 hours of selling this over the phone, then don't start making content about selling it over the phone. right? Like that's just going to be, so by the time that I started going on camera, which was my friend holding up an iPhone and me talking back then, he was listening to me sell somebody, and he was doing my admin work, and he's like, Bobby, man, it sucks that you can only sell one person at a time. He's like, how can we get you selling more people at a time? And I go, I can only have one phone call at a time. He's like, dude, let's just start making videos on your iPhone, and let's just start posting them on YouTube, and let's see if it helps seniors call in. And so even though the production quality wasn't great in my old videos and stuff, like I know what I'm talking about. If someone needs to go on Medicare, I can explain the differences between a Medicare Advantage and Medicare Supplement. I can help educate them on how to enroll, when Medicare is going to start, and stuff like that. So that's what got me into doing it, and then it kind of turned into lead generation. But yeah, Danielle, I'll be quiet now, and good call out, Dante. But Danielle, please tell us please go ahead. Content.
Well, I second everything that you just said, because it's just talking about what you know. And if you get over the vanity piece, which is, oh my gosh, I look terrible. There's a hair that sticks out in this video and nobody's going to watch it. My nose is too big. I needed to do X, Y, and Z before I got on camera today. Then you're right. No one's ever going to watch anything because you're not out there. One of my videos that I recorded was the Medicare Advantage versus Medicare Supplement video, and it was the worst hair day of my life. I actually looked like straw was growing out of my head. And my team and I just laughed about that. Of course, that's the video that gets the most views. And I wasn't about to take it down because it was getting hundreds of thousands of views. And so eventually I re-recorded it, and then we pulled it down and replaced it. But for several years, we just let that thing run. And it wasn't that long ago that I was thinking to myself, once I just have 10 videos, when I'm 10 videos out, then I'll be legit. I'll have a legit channel. And if you go back and watch some of those early videos, you can hear me stumbling over myself. I don't have the very best editing because I edited myself. I'm a big believer in learning processes yourself before you hand them off to someone. And so I got myself a software, Camtasia, and I learned how to edit videos. And then later, when I was ready for an editor, I could coach her on what I wanted to see. And she was actually much better than me. And so that's how I started out. But I didn't have any knowledge about YouTube. It was really scary there in the beginning. And now looking back, I kind of laugh at that because I think you just put yourself out there. You're selling Medicare products. You know what you're talking about. People who are looking for you are looking for credibility. They want to be able to trust your answers. And when they find 10 videos, they're more concerned if you helped answer their question than whether you have the right lighting in your video. So a lot of it just goes to starting and talking about what you know. And that's something that we've all done really well, and people gravitate to that.
And I'll say I don't really have a whole lot to add. I wasn't really one to put myself out there on YouTube. Danielle and Bob are way braver than me. I was kind of more behind the scenes operator and writing content, but operating in a slightly different way on that.
But Richard, hold on. You were an early adopter in this space. I never heard WordPress until you mentioned it to me, and you talked to me about your blog and how important that was to stay on top of topics. So maybe talk about that and how, that was kind of your YouTube, and that was how you were able to get so much traffic to your space early on.
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold, just as Danielle and Bob said. I mean, you're trying to educate, you're also trying to drive leads, and early on. 2008, really even before that, with SEO, there's a lot of content writing involved. And so, I didn't really do a lot of video, but I did a lot of content writing for blogs, got a lot of articles out there, and actually performed really, really well early on. So, you want to just be as helpful as possible in the market. And really that was kind of the idea is like, all these folks are coming into the majority of them coming into Medicare extremely confused, and you want to just try and break it down for them. It's been really fun for me though to go from writing content to watching folks like MedicareBob and Danielle putting out some really cool videos.
Cody, let me just summarize real quick, if I can, for the group. One of the themes that you see here, and we talked about it a moment ago, was the collaboration and the education and the helping people. I think if you look to what all three, Danielle, MedicareBob, and Richard just said, it's just that. They're giving away that education. They're showing people how to do this to try to drive clients to their website and grow their business. And that's really how they treat their friends in this business as well. It's they put it out there, they do the right thing, and they know in the long run that they're going to get paid well for it, even though they're not directly getting paid for it at the time. It's driving business by putting out good content and doing the right thing.
Yeah, very value first.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I know Taylor's history because he and I, he kind of grew up with me in the business, but I think it's about trust. He and I have, Dante says it all the time. It's very rare that partnerships work. Taylor and I celebrate 20 years this year, but we're very trusting of each other. We're very transparent with each other. But with you three there, when you first started, what were you looking for to get from the business? What was your first thing? If I can just make this a year, this is what I want from this business. And Taylor, I want to get that from you too. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to use you last. But okay. I'll start with Bob.
So a lot of I was a top producer at Transact, which is a great direct-to-consumer shop. I was there for 3 years, and I was nation's top producer in Mutual of Omaha. I think Cantu got me once. So I want revenge. So for me, it was my shot to be a millionaire, to be honest with you. I'm just gonna be honest. I saw, I found something I was really good at. I was looking at going on my own for about 6 or 7 months. I went to the Med Sub conference, kind of learned more about the business part of it. And then I remember sitting in my driveway after going to the gym with my brother. I have a twin brother who's a lawyer, really smart guy. And he got sick of me talking about it. And finally, I'm like, dude, I think I need to quit my job tomorrow and try this. And he looked at me, I'll never forget it. He's like, Bobby, you're not that bright. If this is your shot to be a millionaire, you better take it. And he was kind of sarcastic because he was just sick of me talking about doing it. And so I needed that push to do it. I went in, my wife was 6 months pregnant with our second kid. And I told her I was quitting my job that I was making 6 figures at. But I had to do it. And and for those of you, Danielle's laughing because she knows my wife and she probably sees how that went over. So honestly, if I'm going to be honest, it was my shot to be a millionaire is why I opened up my own shop. That was my reason. So.
That's great. Yeah, Marley's not this big, but I can see you being scared of it.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps. That's such a good story.
That's a good story. How about you, Danielle?
Yeah, so I have kind of similar thing, although I didn't work in insurance first. And I'll point out, Bobby, that Marley also told you not to take those shots in Rome. And that night went down in history. You should listen to her once in a while. But on some of those, on some of those trips where we all got to know each other, and we get to know each other's spouses too. So it's really fun. I was always an entrepreneurial kid. From a very young age, my brother and I had all sorts of endeavors. We did everything from car washing business to knocking on doors and saying, could we take your trash out, doing yard work, anything we ever wanted to buy. We just figured out we would sold it to our neighborhood. And when you have that spirit, it never really leaves you. So I worked in staffing for 10 years and it was a great industry, but I'm capping out at maybe 80,000 a year and thinking, how much further can I really go with this? And I'm already working 50, 60 hours a week for someone else. I need my own thing. And so I looked for a long time. I really couldn't figure out what to do. I wanted to sell something, but the things that I was coming across they didn't appeal to me. I thought they would be difficult, like being a realtor. I didn't want to spend my weekends touring people around houses and having one sale and then there's no renewals from that sale. So when I came across insurance, it was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I can help people with this. I wanted something that gave me that warm fuzzy at the end of the day where I could do something good for people in the world, but that I also could make a realistic, very good profit. And I think my original was like, if I can make $250,000 one day, that would just be awesome. Like I had this in mind, this small agency with maybe me and one other producer and a couple of admins, and we'd be the local State Farm, but we'd be in individual insurance because back then I did individual health and a little bit of small group. And I remember exactly where I was sitting when I thought, once I have $500 a month rolling in to this business, I can consider myself a real insurance agent. And once I fill up this file cabinet, which we bought for $150, I think we found it on Craigslist. It's a 3-drawer file cabinet. And once that is full of clients, then we will be, really on our way. And we still have that file cabinet. We've never gotten rid of it because that's what we talked about back then is, we just wanted those small achievements. And then obviously we've gone and just blown away all those original goals by a lot of effort and reinvesting effort and educating ourselves and sharing what we know. And you have to know that those first few years are always going to be hard. But if you stick it out, this is a business that one of my mentors told me once when I was crying about a couple of individual policies that got canceled and I've been working so hard to grow my policy base. And she said, well, that's why we sell insurance, because all the other policies that you wrote last month are paying you again this month. And it was such a great mention for me because it sort of reset my thinking on, not losing the mental battle when you have one policy fall off the books. And those single policies hurt a lot in the beginning when you lose them, but you have to concentrate on the ones that you do put into your bag and that grow your business from there forward. And just know that if you keep at that and repeat that task enough times, you're going to grow as far as you want to go with the level of effort and money that you're willing to invest into your business.
That's good stuff. I mean, speaking of Danielle, and she keeps using we, I wish David happy birthday yesterday and told him we'd have to get to dinner. But
okay.
There is another side to Danielle Roberts, and his name's David Kunkel, and he's quite the entrepreneur. So you guys make a great team, and I appreciate that. How about you, Dante?
Mine's a lot like Danielle's in a number of ways, but so background, I got a degree in marketing. I worked for 4 different technology companies before I got into insurance, 2 Fortune 500 companies, 2 startups. 3 of the 4 had problems and they ended up laying a bunch of people off. I didn't get laid off until that last startup company. So 2005, it was actually January 3rd, 2005. It was raining. I get laid off. I'm sitting in a parking lot wondering how I'm going to tell my wife I got laid off. We had a 6-month-old son. We just bought a brand new house that I could barely afford with my 6-figure income at that time. And so that was fate because I decided, I feel like I have, I'm a good problem solver. I can see the big picture and I can get into the details. And I felt like it was the time to go ahead at age 35 at the time to 34 to start my own business. And like Danielle, I considered real estate, but I thought, gosh, I don't want to be showing houses at 6, 7, 8 o'clock every night, weekends. I looked at insurance, but I didn't look at insurance from I can golf on Fridays. I'm not a golfer. I looked at it as kind of what we all know it to be like. There's an opportunity here that if you gain traction, or when you gain traction, and a lot of it is, it alluded to in your name, is survivability in that first year and a half. And it's a flywheel. We keep pushing against it, and it builds and builds and builds and builds. And so my first year, I went through just about all my retirement, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I landed on under 65 health insurance. It was pre-ACA, so they actually paid commissions. And I did really well. Actually, as Gaylan mentioned, I was, there was a company called Medicare. I was one of their top reps in the country at the time. Got to go on some really cool conferences, meet some great folks. I learned a lot. What I always say about conferences, and I'm sure you say it too, you can just go to a conference and pick up one thing. It can change your business. And you might be there 2 or 3 days and you meet some great people. It might be somebody you meet. It might be something that you learn. And it might not even be probably the most profound thing to most people. But for whatever reason, that one thing hits you and it changes your business. But it took about 1.5 years to gain traction in the under 65 market. And then I got really good at SEO, didn't know anything about it before I started researching it. Got really good at AdWords. And I started generating a lot of leads. The transition into Medicare happened in 2008. I started noticing that I was getting Medicare leads on my website. And I had a sales process, which is also really important. Something that a lot of people don't necessarily have nailed down is a process. For the under 65 market, I transitioned it to Medicare. And I realized I was selling Medicare supplement policies easier than I was selling the under 65 policies. And so I did a test. I spent 2 weeks, didn't follow up on any of the under 65 health leads that were coming in. Did a focused AdWords campaign on Medicare supplements, got more leads than I could handle. But I tracked those leads over the course of 2 weeks, trying to take about 13 leads a day. I tracked those leads over 6 months, but it didn't take me 6 months to make the decision to transition, but I wanted to track. And taking about 13 leads a day over 10 days, I wrote 60 Medicare supplement policies. Wow. Yeah, and so, but I early on, that first 2 or 3 weeks, I probably wrote half of that, 30, 35 policies. And I was like, yeah, no brainer, I got to switch. And a lot of folks in the under 65 market that I was friends with were like, what the heck are you doing? You're crushing it in the under 65 market. And I'm like, this is the spot. I got to come over to Medicare. So 2008 switch, that's about the time I met Taylor. And I was bringing on an admin, and I've had conversations with a lot of successful guys in this industry, and understanding like, hey, I feel like I'm a great marketer, I'm a great salesperson, and I'm actually a great administrator, but administration doesn't pay as well. So I needed to hand that off. I brought in an administrator. She ended up taking all of our applications and handling all the administrative side. I brought in so many leads that I had to bring on another sales guy, and we all crushed it. We were writing 80 to 100 Medicare supplement policies apiece a month, getting way into the 125 plus a month each during AEP, and then just kept growing it from there. So anyway, that's kind of how it played out. But the first part, 18 months was survivability.
That's one thing Richard gets a little bit of background that's coming from. But one of the things I'll say about him is he shares those processes. And we were able to pick up one of those. And we thank him for that every day. It cut back on our chargebacks. I mean, the way he shares is incredible. But, what I'm loving is the rags to riches stories, because that's what success stories are about. If you start off successful, then there's no real success story. So the being able to be down here to up here is what people really need to hear. So I'll segue to Taylor. I met Taylor when he was younger than my son is now, like young. So now I always joke, I got to get this since everybody thinks I'm the funny one of the group, but when Taylor and I first started, I could have been his mother. Now we go in places and they'll say, so do y'all need a room together? And we're like, no, we're partners. No. But I look at him and I go, oh, I love that, because now you're catching up. But I'll segue to him and let him tell his story as well.
Well, thank you, Gaylan. Yes, back then I actually had hair, so it's obviously been a long time. As she mentioned, June 1st of this year was 20 years for the two of us, and it's been a great ride. Gaylan is my work wife, and so what got me in the business was I was graduated from SMU and worked for PwC right out of college for a year and a half doing, of all things, IT consulting, something that, unlike many of the people on this call, I was not put on the planet to do. And I didn't like it at all, although I had a great job from a big company everybody heard of. And a fraternity brother of mine started recruiting me into the business. His dad had owned an agency for many years, and previously owned an insurance company. And that's where Gaylan and I were connected. She ran the operation, all the day-to-day stuff, was the president of the company. And we hit it off immediately. And I could tell her moral compass was always pointing in the right direction, whereas the other two that we worked for at the time, it was somewhat questionable. I'll just leave it at that. But so I started out in the field selling and sold, was a top producer for Medicare supplement, trip qualifier, and was quickly brought into training agents. This is all belly to belly. There was really not much over the phone sales happening in 2001, to date myself. So yeah, started training agents in the field, and then started recruiting agents 2 days a week and then training 3 days in the week in the field. So back to the golf statement, I think Bobby or Richard said earlier, there definitely wasn't any of that, although I love to play. It was work. And Gaylan and I helped build this into one of the largest captive Medicare supplement shops in the country. We were one of Mutual of Omaha's top agencies in the country back in 2003, kind of at the height of our growth. But I always give Gaylan credit for being smarter than me. She left a year before I did. Her pain tolerance said she'd hit that level, and it took me a little longer to get there. But I left in July of 2004 and was going to go out on my own. Kind of like Bobby said, I'd done all my homework. I ran the numbers. I had confidence that I could do this. But at the same time, Gaylan and I reconnected, and a friendship came back together that had been dormant for about a year. And she said, hey, we've got a lot of space over here. We can help you save a lot of money, a lot of overhead. Come take contracts through us. And that's how we started. Initially, I was working under Gaylan. And it was about 6 months later, we decided that was silly and we just became full partners. And the last story I'll tell is that was in 2004. In 2006, we had to completely rebuild our business because we were operating as still a belly-to-belly captive agency. We did outbound telemarketing, generating leads for agents that ran 4 to 5 appointments a day, 4 days a week. That worked incredibly well until the no-call list came out. So yes, I'm really dating myself. And our business was basically shut down almost overnight. And we made the decision at that point. We'd been on some trips. We'd seen that some agents had no idea who their upline was. They didn't like them. They weren't doing anything. Maybe they were even competing against them. And I told her, I said, look, if we support the agents in the brokerage space like we have in the captive space, I think that's going to work. And that was in early 2006. And it's been a fun ride since then. One of the things she and I are most proud of is that we built a very large brokerage operation from scratch. We didn't have a family business that we took over. There's a ton of nepotism in this business, which is great, but she and I didn't have that. But we had a lot of experience, and because of some of the relationships on this call, and frankly, because we spoke call center, because we've always had a small call center in our office, we understand the language. That's been where most of our growth has come from, which is supporting the telesales groups. Richard was one of the first that we got connected with. And, starting there, we're now probably known as, that's our biggest strength, is supporting a lot of telesales operations. And I'd like to think we provide pretty good value. Training is one of the huge things that we help people with, in addition to others. But that's a pretty good summary, I guess, Gaylan. It's been a fun ride.
It's good. And I think, caring is sharing. And, Cody, I said we were just going to kind of tee up some of this stuff we'll bring to 8% Nation. I mean, what I'll say to the audience right here and there is that we are going to miss Richard Cantu at the conference because he, kind of put his mother before us. We totally understand. We're in the senior business. I think she's turning 75. Is that right, Richard?
That's right. Yeah. And she actually lives in Dallas, and I thought I had it all coordinated, and she pulled a switcheroo on me about 6 weeks ago and said she wanted to leave Dallas for her birthday. So
to go to the beach. I totally get it. But we will miss you. But I will just say this, Cody. I think the group at 8% Nation, if they watch this and they can see any of this chemistry at all, they'll see that they're going to get a really exciting group here. Plus, we've got some few surprises of our own that we've not even told Cody Askins about yet.
Whoa.
To tee up for him. We may or may not be having a pre-party to the pre-party in order to cheer Cody on. But, we really appreciate you, Cody. I hope that this is what you were looking for from this group. I appreciate all of you. I thank you for everything that you just offered up. And that's it for me. I'll turn it back to you.
I love it. Okay. I think we should end it there. Gaylan, thank you so much for orchestrating all of this. Danielle, Taylor, Richard, and Bob, thank you guys so much for sharing with the industry everything that you do. You are all unbelievable. And this is the speaker panel lineup that will be showing out at 8%. I truly believe this is not only probably one of the best live collections of talent ever, by the way. I gotta give Gaylan credit for that. But also, this will be the best speaker panel the industry has ever seen. And I feel confident in that because I know each of you and your business and how well you're doing. So thank you for being a part of this. I don't know how I got looped in and you know, I guess because I'm friends with Gaylan, godmother of insurance. But thank you. I'm loving it. And everybody watching, you'll get to see all of these fine individuals at 8%. So thank you all.
And be watching Instagram because there may be a surprise for the best question asked. So Cody will be sending you guys out some stuff. So stay tuned. Thank y'all.
Good.
See you
Thank
later.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Hey, if you enjoyed this, I got another one you're going to love. It's right there. Click on it. See you in there. You seem to be growing at a rapid pace, so congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's we enjoy the industry and we enjoy our relationships, and that's what makes it fun.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, I would love for those that don't know Patrick to be able to get